What's up, guys? All right, so Bitcoin's kind of coiling up. How you guys doing this morning? Anonymous, Noah, be sure to hit the like on the stream. Thanks, man. Oscar, forget about it. I always laugh when I read your name, man. All right, so Bitcoin is now basically building a pennant structure above the previous value area that we broke out of. And normally these provide continuations, but you should prepare for both scenarios just in case. We got downtrending resistance here, uptrending support. This was a zone that we were watching before, but we just tweezered right off of it. We didn't get the break. And let's see, it's still the same kind of zone that you want to make sure is broken if you want to have that continuation. Otherwise, we can stay range bound if we broke down below this area. We could pull a fixed range from the start of the consolidation to where we are. And we're kind of like approaching that zone of interest that we're looking at over here. We have like a supply concern on the left-hand side. Just over here. We have the value area high. We got order block concern, high amounts of liquidity. We got lots of reasoning for potential rejection here. But the measurable target for this, falling wedge is still way up here at 109. We got proper acceptance into this value area like we talked about yesterday. So that could potentially allow a full rotation to the value area high, but this is our last little barrier before getting there. So if we get past this, then 101 is next. Good morning, guys. Good morning, man. But yeah, so right now it's just pretty much a waiting game until we get a break. The downside with these coiling structures, you're not going to be getting like normally a change of character occurrence for like a confirmation of direction. But if we break the downtrending momentum, that tells us that the pace of the sellers have shifted and that the pace of the buyers have sped up. Let's see. Right now, this is our key area that we want to have broken. But if we come back down, rotate here, we could start watching this key area here. When it breaks, we kind of want to have a retest to a structure like this. Because these things tend to whipsaw. I'm sure like some of you guys might have traded pennants before, but basically sometimes they will whipsaw and hit both directions, grab liquidity in both directions, and then they'll start running your direction. So it's good to wait for a retest just in case. You have these kind of structures, yeah. Let's see how DOT's doing really quick. Yesterday we had our target for up here. So that target was hit. We did have a moment where where I put like my stop loss for the first initial entry of this break here. And that kind of like stopped us at a very small profit. And then when we came down, we hit the impulse golden pocket. So if you pull a Fibonacci from here to here, we hit that golden pocket level, and then we started running back up towards our target. If you didn't move your stop loss, you would have just hit the target naturally without being stopped out. But that change of character happening like right in front of our face, put our stop loss, pretty much there's a threat to our stop loss being hit. But yeah, as soon as we got into this area of concern, we had a rejection back down, and now we're kind of likely going to be going range bound again. We might see a rotation back down. Like we're losing the uptrending momentum here, and we're seeing it act as resistance, kind of the same way we want to see like Bitcoin confirm its Either it's reversal, right? Or it's continuation. If we want to see structure like this, or a break of structure continuation, we're getting that right now on dot where we pulled back. And now we want to have that lower low to confirm that we're using this as resistance. Otherwise, what we got to wait out for is a break of this neckline to invalidate that idea. Oh, wow. Okay. Just woke right up. Okay, so I'm getting some volume. All right, we'll see what happens here. That'd be a really mini. You could potentially get a tiny little SFP here. We just need to confirm it by grabbing all the liquidity from above this wick and then have that candle close back inside this little active range and then target this low. Or we could just break right out. And switch over to the 5-minute candles for a second. News is in. Yeah. Let's take a. We got 3 minutes left on this candle. So let's take a peek at the Forex. Okay, so unemployment rate didn't move. Non-farm unemployment change. Hourly earnings monthly down. Okay. So nothing too dramatic. All right, let's go 15. All right, so now we're eligible for a 15-minute SFP. So depending on how this candle closes, now since we swept that liquidity from above, right, we want to see this candle close below this orange line so it has acceptance into the active range. And then we'll have ourselves a swing failure pattern. I don't like the positioning of the swing failure pattern. Like I would prefer it to be right here in a value area. But it'd still be a swing failure pattern. All right, we got 10 minutes before that confirms. And the TA for Bitcoin is basically already done. Like there's not very much to it after all the stuff that we talked about yesterday. Like basically we're approaching the supply concern up here where you can expect a potential rejection. However, we front run things all the time. We see it front run all the time. So maybe we'll see this drop back down to this previous value area. And this SFP could be like the conduit or the start to that entry. You don't want to drop too much because by the time it confirms, you might not have the risk to reward ratio. It's wild. Yeah, I might be waiting for a long setup today because this is already kind of running away. There are strategies that allow you to front run SFPs, which is just wild to me. I gotta learn the rules for stuff like that because that'd be kind of cool to do on stream. Runway saying payroll growth tops expectations and immediately crypto S&P and crypto reacts. Yeah. Normally, like when news like that comes out, we have a quick reaction and then it just goes back to normal. A lot like an FOMC meeting. Quick reaction, then it goes back to normal. The CPI, however, like sometimes we'll get reactions that last much longer because the data is really impacting over the US dollar. All right. Well, while we're waiting on Bitcoin to close this candle, is there any assets you guys want to take a look at? It's Friday, so we're leading into a weekend, so we gotta be a little careful about the measurable targets that we choose because market maker involvement dwindles a little bit over the weekend. So we have less liquidity because we usually have less traders, like trade participants. So you typically want to be picking targets that you would expect based on the active momentum that it would close before the end of the day, kind of thing. But we can always like map out stuff as well for when Monday starts. SUI, yeah, we can look at SUI. Vector candles can be helpful for front running SFPs. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so yesterday we were talking about this key level right here at the Valerie high. Yeah, there's definitely a new key level here that if broken would have been a huge difference. But this is the last time we spoke about it. But if we were on the charts together, I would have rotated to here. We got basically a double top structure out of decent value area. This is a relatively decent value area here. And so if I were to rotate that from here to here, we'd have our change of character occurrence when this broke. And when we say when this broke, I mean like the wick itself is technically where the change of character occurrence begins. And when we broke it, we came down, we bounced off the VWAP, we retested, and then we got the lower low. So during that moment, like this was a breakout trader's entry right here. And breakout traders, you're sacrificing your win rate. You're having a smaller win rate, but for more opportunities. Confirmation traders get less opportunities because you don't always get the pullback, but you have a higher win rate as a result. So we need at least 2 candle pullback and then a lower low. And then you can use the high as your stop loss guard. And here, the target you'd want to be watching out for along the way down is the POC. You got to watch out for that. But ultimately, you want to try to see a full rotation of Valerie low, which is what SUI got. We can pull the fixed range now to accept all the current candles. You can adjust this. And now, SUI's in an area where you anticipate a long position. So it may not be here. We may come down, especially if Bitcoin breaks to the downside. It's going to impact Ethereum to go down, and Ethereum is going to impact SUI to go down because SUI's got tons of Ethereum pairing liquidity. Let's see, we got our change of character already occur here. So when we broke this high, we got to change the character occurrence, and now we got to pull back into it. Let's pull a fib from this low to this high. we got this little zone here. We came down, we tapped the 886, which is the platinum pocket. The levels I like to prefer to watch reactions off of is between the golden pocket and the 786. If we get like a change of character occurrence within it, like internally, and sometimes I'll jump into the trade and watch out for the high to front run like a more of a bigger move. But I don't like the current behavior of this. I think we're more likely to go down further, especially if Bitcoin's gonna SFP here and come down. At a level that I'm currently watching that I want to have broken to expect a potential rotation back to its value area high, or at least the POC. If we look at the pathing, right, of the price action here, and you visualize the order flow of funds, so we so far have taken potentially the liquidity from these highs. Oh, did we get that SFP? Let me just zoom in a little bit further. Okay, we did. Yeah, we got it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that. I thought maybe the wick might not have been claimed, but it was definitely claimed. Right here. So this would have been one of those times where you definitely would want to have like a full body close above this zone to make sure you got price acceptance. That's why when you see my signals inside like the community, I'm usually waiting for a full body close above certain key levels so we have proper price acceptance. So people don't jump in on a trade just because it wicks past it, kind of thing. The improper acceptance can sometimes lead to really harsh pullbacks, especially near areas where a change of character might occur. But yeah, the order flow, what I was talking about before, we can visualize that every time there's a break of structure continuation, that new traders have jumped in and new liquidity has appeared above these highs. And it kind of slows down around here. So if we have a break, we might only get that rotation like roughly around the POC before things start to correct back down. However, if the POC acts as a form of support, we might get that full rotation to the value area high. I saw someone write a really frustrating comment about they were upset that I wasn't sharing my losses over the past week. And we only had one loss. So I do share my losses, by the way, guys. It's just this past like week or 2 weeks I've been basically just fucking crushing it. I would consider the stop loss, early stop loss here, technically a loss. Because it's not proper R&R after it got stopped out. And we had the loss on Bitcoin that we spoke about here. Yeah, this little loss here where we had a megaton of confluence of it going down and we still got stopped out. We can't win them all. All right, so we got the SFP on the 15 minute. Oh, we don't yet. Okay, we got 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Yeah, DOGE reaction, which is pretty common near a POC like this. It's really sticky. ETH dominance, 1 weekly chart. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. See what's going on there. ETH dominance. Yeah, I haven't looked at Ethereum dominance in a little bit. I wonder how long it's been since I took a peek at this. I normally look at the others dominance, total 3, and Bitcoin dominance. Ethereum's been getting its butt kicked lately. And this chart's a really good reflection of that. You want me to take a look at the weekly? I see why, because we're claiming these lows here. We're in price discovery lows. The lowest it's ever been. we were to grab a magnet, cling it onto this wick, we could then see that we grabbed that low. So looking at the weekly, you'd look at this as a potential zone of interest where we could see a reversal on Ethereum dominance. So the flow of funds could start to shift and go into Ethereum. But yeah, you want to make sure you wait for the structure to define that, because you never know. Things could keep going lower, right? In terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum's price action. That doesn't mean that Ethereum can't go up while this is going down, especially like if Bitcoin's going up alongside it. It just means there's more money going into Bitcoin than there is going into Ethereum. Ethereum's dominance has been dwindling mainly because of the new technologies that came out this last cycle, like with Injective and SUI, especially SUI. SUI has been butchering Ethereum. So if you look on chain at what's going on, we have basically a bridge, like a wormhole, coming from the Ethereum network, and it's all going and filtering into the SUI network through like a bridge. And it's just like slowly draining the market shares away from Ethereum. So it's pretty intense how much SUI has like taken from Ethereum. And it makes you realize how quickly the space could change. I'm not saying that Ethereum's not going to do well this cycle, but all the market share absorption that's coming from like from SUI, for example, and all these new projects, that saturation is definitely impacting Ethereum's ability to hit its all-time high. And if we look at Ethereum in comparison to everything else, just the chart itself, and we zoom out on the daily, like Ethereum's got its butt kicked, and it's staying down at these low levels while Bitcoin is reaching back up close to its all-time highs again. And that relative weakness is reflecting on the dominance chart as if it's like now at like pretty much all-time lows. But Ethereum is in a really good spot for accumulation. And we're breaking down trending momentum, right? We can get rid of some of these lines here. All right, we broke down trending momentum. It evolved a little bit, a couple times here. So we have broad momentum here, and we have evolving momentum here. You still want to watch broad momentum because it could act as a barrier. But just basically watch the order books, right? The order books will tell you if there's sell orders there or not. And if there's a massive amount of sell orders, then it's telling you that there are other traders respecting that trend line. If there isn't a massive amount of sell orders, then it's telling you that the trend line is almost meaningless. You should still keep it on your chart in case orders start to appear in the order books. But the order books are like trend line validators and tell you whether or not there's going to be traders reacting or not off of it. So right now on the daily, Ethereum is hitting the 50-day EMA. Let's go in the lower time frames. I'm going like range bound here. Pull a fixed range from here to here. We're starting to use the value area high potentially as support. If you're looking for a safer trade between Bitcoin and Ethereum, Ethereum's setup for a potential short is much, much safer than the one that we're looking at for Bitcoin. Because the structure for Bitcoin, for me to trust it, I want that change of character occurrence. And potentially, I love the confluence of acceptance into a value area after breaking a key level. So if we get that with Ethereum, then I'm going to have a really good short that I want to take to the value area low. If we break past value area low, then we'll target the extreme lows where most liquidity is. So when you're looking through all your favorite assets, make sure you're picking ones that will give you your money easier and you're not fighting for it all the time. The SUI unlock is today, ? I don't know about that one. But if you're a trader of that asset, you definitely want to keep an eye out on the unlocks, for sure. Was it unlock? I have a website that I usually go for. Yeah, tokenomics. Yeah. This should show you the most relevant ones. Yeah, SUI's at the top of the list here. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, there was one yesterday. 2.22% of the circulating supply was unlocked yesterday. The next one is 1.32% of the supply, and that's in 30 days. So this could have been a conduit for SUI's correction here. Yeah, that was yesterday here, right? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if you're trading an asset that has frequent unlocks, use unlocks in confluence with your shorts. Because unlocks are bearish. It's basically like flooding more tokens into circulating supply that can be sold. Yeah. But that's over. We had that drop, and now like things will start to settle down. And same thing goes for like assets with crazy inflationary tokenomics, and they have like maybe they'll have burn mechanics as well. I usually use Cake as an example, like on Pancake Swap. They have a burn every Friday, but they mint tokens until that moment. So on Fridays, you got to be careful of trading and doing shorts when they do their burns, because it could result in a pump against your setup. And that's kind of stuff that you don't normally have to worry about with stocks. But with crypto, there's a couple assets that have unique tokenomics that you got to keep an eye out on. What we got in the chat? So FET token, we can look at that too. Tip, stay logged in. Exchange triggers ready. Yep. Thoughts on vector candles? Just been watching some other Trader Geo's old videos. Yeah, vector candles are great, man. I have them on my screen right now. They're helpful for helping you identify like areas where there's high probability of a pullback. When you have the vector candle, we usually reclaim it really shortly afterwards, right? Vector candle, most of it was reclaimed. Vector candles, all of it was reclaimed. Vector candle, half it was reclaimed. Vector candle, fully reclaimed. And they also show you like in areas of high volume. So if we have a green candle here, we get 150% more volume than the previous 14 candles, right? And that could be a good confluence telling you that there's a lot of trade participants agreeing with your idea. So if you have like a structure drawn and then a vector candle broke a key level that you have mapped out, then you can use that in confluence with your setup. China announced, I'm just reading Runway's text here. China announced open to start trading negotiations. S&P futures up. Nice. Okay. Well, that might be something positive or something worse. Who knows? People can get bitter. Trading can be a tough gig. That person is probably just projecting some negativity. Yeah, I hear you, man. But it did open my eyes to understanding like I need to like make sure I also focus in great detail on the losses, so there are people out there that don't get frustrated over small things like that. Interesting. Runway, you're like a walking news board, man. Every time in the Discord, you're like you help out a lot with like posting like all the relevant news and stuff. You save me time sometimes because like I usually go about looking up relatively close to the same kind of things, and then I see a post you made, and it's just like, oh, cool. It just saved me like potentially like 10 minutes. How's SOL looking? Let's take a look at SOL. Oh, actually, we had a request to look at FET first, so I'll look at FET and then I'll look at Solana. We got a FET chart, but we haven't looked at it since March 12th. So see how it evolved since we last looked at it. Okay, so last time we looked at it, we were looking at this key level. It does look like I mapped it out sooner, so we did have like a bit of a run, then we pulled back. And we came back to reclaim that area. However, we had a really good double bottom structure off of a previous POC, off of a previous valley area. If we zoom out a little bit, okay, I see. This is a pretty critical spot. We did not want this broken. Anyway, so we bounced off this previous valley area POC. Luckily, it allowed us to run up. We used the valley area high as support. Got that break of structure continuation. Another break of structure continuation. We broke the downtrending momentum. We broke the 50 EMA on the daily. And we broke past that previous key area. And now, I got this giant red line on my screen. Let's see why. Okay. Whenever I have like a really thick horizontal line, it screams at me to pay attention. I don't know if you guys do that too, but I will sometimes have more important areas be like more bold on my screen. And like FET right now is at a really important key area. This was like we had really strong resistance here. We came down and there's a lot of demand here. We had a massive bounce. So that kind of tells us that there could be, I know it's not exactly here. We're looking at roughly around this area. But roughly around this area and this area here, there's going to be a lot of people's averages, right? A lot of people bought in this area. So that tells us when we come back up to revisit it, that those people might exit the market at break even. Like the weak hands that can't handle holding at a loss anymore, and they don't want to see if it continues to go up. They're out. They don't want to be in anymore. So we tend to get resistance off previous support because of that. And now we are kind of like in a battle against this zone. We get a fixed range flowing profile pulled from here to here. We've got a little demand zone within it. It's a little awkward. We pretty much mitigate the whole thing. So the point of, I don't need to do that. There's no point. I could just use the value area data instead. But before that, before we had price action like come into this area here, you'd have your value area pole would be a little bit more unique than that. So like here's a big key area because we got this impulse move, base, impulse move. So there's basically warning signs that this could be used as a demand zone, which it has been, but we have chipped away at it like 3 times now. So when we come back down, it may be weaker. So those buyers might not be able to like buy anymore, basically. So if we break this low, we got to anticipate that it could act as a form of resistance. And then we start targeting another, our next previous key area, which would be here. Like this in itself is another demand zone, but it's large. So I would put a fixed range flowing profile off of it rather than just boxing the zone. It's big enough that we can use like value area data to help guide us for support bounces, acceptance into a value area. And if that acceptance occurs, right, if we get that break of structure within it, then we can get that kind of tells us we can stay in our shorts and we can potentially get a rotation back down to its value area low. But if we instead come back to this area and we see it act as a form of support with like a change of character posing against us, then that warns us we should take some off the table at least if we're jumping in on a short here. But that's FET. It does look more bearish than bullish, but we could still break to the upside. Like lots can happen. But structurally, I'm more mentally prepared for this to break to the downside. With this here being a key area. if you get that break to the upside. Let's see. I would kind of want you to pull a fixed range off of this consolidative point here to see if we are respecting this level. Looks like really well. Yeah. Yeah, almost all these levels have influenced the current price action. But the high here is the really important one, this previous value high, where we got like a penny undercut to. If we break out of this value area, we still have to be mindful of the previous value high, potentially halting the price action to come back down. What else we got in the chat? Save you 10 minutes, it's worth 4K karma tokens. Yeah. Yeah, man. SOL, how's SOL looking? Okay, yeah, SOL was the next request. I'm going to switch back to Ethereum chart really quick. Rotate to Bitcoin. See what it's looking like. It is looking like it's breaking to the upside. We're testing that previous key area. We got that break of structure. Now over here, if we get an SFP, this is one that I can trust because its positioning, like I was saying before, is at a value high. And like internal SFPs, like inside of value areas, especially near POC, those are really hard to trust. So let's mark this wick. Oops. I don't want a trend line. Horizontal ray. There. Let's see if we get an SFP today. All right, we got 13 minutes left on that candle. So let's wait for that candle to close. A lot could happen. I think we could come up, grab this, then close back inside to help validate our idea. All right, let's open up the Solana chart for you. Last we looked at it was a couple days ago. All right, we're still kind of range bound inside this value area. We can adjust the pole from here to here because we got that acceptance back inside the value area. Let's update our lines here. Yeah, so when we came up here, we pulled back. We got at least a 2 candle pullback, which is really important. And then we get the higher high, giving us a break of structure and generating this as our strong low. We broke that strong low on SOL, giving us a change of character. And it was just after we lost the POC. Like that's relatively close to the value area high. We got a bit of, so in here, this kind of scenario, we didn't have very much structure for our stop loss because we'd have to use this level here as our stop loss at least. And you could target down here. And if there's enough risk to reward ratio on that, you might think about jumping in on that trade, right? From here to here. If there isn't, like in this scenario, it's 1 to 1.46, then you can wait for a pullback because all your rules have been met, right? If all your rules have been met, then really, like what some traders do is they'll move it to a point where they need the R&R. So they'll have like a limit order ready to jump in since all their rules are met to try like for hopium that we get the retest. So here we had that scenario where we had one retest that you could have taken and another retest here you could have taken. And after that new low is taken, like broken, you could move your stop loss to the next high. Fibonacci is also great for that too. So if you get like a base, at least a base, and you want to find or pull like where we could go to, you could look at like the golden pocket level or 76 and see if it gets tapped in. Right now, Solana is like breaking. We broke this downtrending momentum. We retested it. So this in itself, like when I see stuff like that, that for me is a warning sign to take some off the table. But we do have a couple guards still in place. We still have this strong high. We still have this POC. So I can still see reasoning for staying in. However, normally when I see that occur, I'm taking some off the table. But yeah, Solana's still chilling off of this previous key level here, this previous valley area. Let's try to get a rotation back up further. So this has relative strength against Ethereum too. But 170 is probably its most important key level of resistance on the chart. So if you ever want to watch a really, really important level, watch it for 107. These orange lines here, what they used to represent is this fair value. This not fair value gap. This gap right here in the volume that typically tells us that we're going to move quickly. So I had it marked because every time we broke past it fast. So in case I wanted to entry, it'd tell me like if we had a breakout confluence near this zone, then I'll just enter on just the first candle that closes within it. If there's like some kind of breakout confluence, like a neckline here, just jump in on the candle because we'll teleport to the other side basically. The 4 hour, we got a bit of a tweezer reaction there. That's locally bullish. Yeah, right now I'll be expecting a potential rotation down for Solana. It's just a matter of like the fact that we just lost this momentum that would get me a little nervous for our stop losses for being hit up here. If anyone's in on a trade. So if you're in any shorts, I'd keep the POC as your guard, or at least this high. These two things are the last things that are pretty much protecting the value area high from being reclaimed again. All right, this candle's. We didn't grab that liquidity. That's kind of rude. Still have 7 minutes. Like a lot could still happen in 7 minutes, but I wish you and Alex streamed at different times. It's hard to listen to two people at once. Oh, I hear you, man. Yeah. What's interesting between Alex and I though, like he's got his Fibonacci strategy that he uses a lot, and I have my change of character, confluence-based strategy in value areas, and my strategy helps with strong continuations to his. It's kind of so if we ever streamed together on the same stream, I think we'd kick a lot of ass. We'd do really well. And we've done stuff like that before together. But it's pretty interesting. Our two strategies talk to each other. Vector candles by rapid fire. There are a few options on TradingView, Traders, Reality. Also one vector candles. Yeah, I recommend Anonymous if you're talking about vector candles. And LJ, the one I recommend, and the one that Anonymous is also talking about. Between the two that he spoke about, I'd recommend Traders Reality. Especially if you have an essentials plan on TradingView, because Traders Reality has is a lot more than just candles. You're getting a whole bunch of stuff built in. You're getting your EMAs, you're getting your open, your closes, you're getting a bunch of data. And you can sift through the settings and decide which ones you want to keep. But yeah, Traders Rally is a really good one. And accuracy is really important, and Traders Rally has that. I want to take a look at Argus for a quick second, which is okay. Yeah. If you're trading SFPs, one indicator that I recommend is Argus. Argus pulls the wicks from other exchanges that you choose. You choose the exchange, and it'll tell you if an SFP occurred on a different exchange. So if you can see here, if we had this indicator on, we'd know that in other exchanges, this actually did grab liquidity. And you, with the indicator too, you can pick high liquidity exchanges, so you know it's actually going to have an impact. And the three that I have on here, and I believe it's the default too, is Bybit, Binance, and BitGet. Bybit being the best by far in term, and both Binance and Bybit, they're like good in their own unique ways, but Bybit, in my opinion, has got really good liquidity. So in this case, we had Binance come up. If I change this exchange to yellow to match their branding, orange for Bybit, and blue for BitGet. And we see that up here, yeah, Binance came up and we got the SFP. On the 5 minute too. Well, that's a bummer. Okay, well, on the 5 minute, we could have reacted off that. We confirmed on the 5. On the 15 minutes yet to confirm. It confirms in 3 minutes. So if you're trading the SFP, your target is your low. And the 5 is a lot safer. You use the wick as your stop loss guard. You'd enter here. And you target this low. But because that low is guarded by two bullish confluences, like the POC and the VWAP, you got to watch this zone. That's a potential threat. But your R&R to that level is that's not bad considering it's your barrier. But here it's 1 to 3. How'd you get that? I can't see it. Oh, it's part of an indicator bundle by 11x or X11. 11x. It's 11x. Yeah. The indicator bundle comes with risk management indicator, Argus, structure, market structure, order blocks, and Shihai. But it's kind of expensive. I'd recommend like getting your rules ready, get your win rate up, and like give yourself a proven win rate with like 100 trade samples with your set of rules before like investing too much into trading. Like see if it's for you, see if it's like your strategy works for you, and then you start investing in like indicators and stuff like that. The one thing I really regret doing when I first started is I invested a lot into courses, and I invested a lot into indicators, and the indicators was the one I regretted the most. Like the indicators, you'd have so many bells and whistles out there, and you realize most of the stuff that you need to be profitable is free. But if I were to say anything about 11x, their indicators are fucking awesome. They're really, really good. I'd love to show you the risk management one. So the risk management one, you click where you're going to enter, you click where you're going to put your stop loss, and you click where you're going to close your trade. You type in your balance, your preferred use of leverage. Let's say it's like 10x. Your dollar value, which you want to be, if it's a $1,000 account, you want to risk to lose $10. Your maker fee, 0.025 0.2 is the average, and take a fee 0.06 is the average. You click on apply, and then it will show you on the right hand side here. Let me just move this all around. What your margin size needs to be, what your position size needs to be, based on the leverage that you chose and your risk percentage. It's going to help you to make sure that you, based on your position size, that you are only going to lose that $10 that you selected. And it'll tell you what your fees are going to be based on like your entry and your net P&L on that gap. So you'll know exactly how much money you should be making when that target's hit after all the fees. I do have a calculator that you guys can use for free that does the same thing, but this one's pretty great for that. How'd you get? If Bitcoin SFP, TIA SFP, 15-minute value area low. Let's take a look at TIA and see if there's something there. And Ethereum, we got to look back at Ethereum. TIA got its butt kicked a little bit. It's at its like a previous value area high here. So it's between two key value areas. We're breaking momentum. So despite how bearish Bitcoin is looking, TIA is looking like it's ready to go for a pump. We got an ascending double bottom. I prefer if this wick was taken, but can't get everything you want. Getting a 2-candle pullback now. So if we had a higher high, we would have a break of this neckline. Our change of character is way up here, unfortunately. So this is technically the key area we want to have broken for an increased chance of a reversal trend. There we go. If we get a pullback and then a higher high, then we can watch this area for a break of structure, like an internal break of structure to then break this level. In a perfect world, we could come down, claim this low, then come up, and this could be our new key level. Yeah, TIA's looking more bullish than bearish. It's got some relative strength against Bitcoin. Bitcoin's, yeah, it's SFPing right now, but TIA's, yeah, slow dropping, while Bitcoin's more faster pace. Let's take a quick peek at Ethereum. I don't think I looked at Ethereum on our... Okay, yeah, just need to update this. Yeah, so this is still our little level here. We got the... Yeah, we still got to watch this level here. D has unmitigated order block below. Yeah. I'm hoping for TIA to go back a little bit before we confirm to go up. This order block has been mitigated though. We're talking about this one here. Oh, a 30-minute. Okay. 30-minute order block. Yeah, we can come back down to half that. What confluences we can look for? The impulse fib. It's invalidated. If we hit the higher high, this thing gets invalidated immediately. But yeah, we have the confluence of the value, previous value high. If we get the higher high, the confluence of the fib gets invalidated, but we still have like the 30-minute order block that you're talking about. Yeah, it's a good thing to watch, man. But this is, right now, this is a current key level for the change of character to be induced on TIA, and that could potentially get us that rotation to at least here, 273. So we'd watch out here because we got lots of liquidity from here to here. We do have lots up here, but it does look like it's guarded. So just be mindful that you might anticipate an undercut around this zone. We can find a golden pocket between here and here. Yeah, it's the same kind of area, 786. I'd mark this level here. Just watch out for it along the way up if we do get that confirmation for a reversal. Have we gone through DOT today? We have. Spoke about like the trade setup that we did. Let's see, go to the so there's our trade setup that we did here. Basically, this is the key level that we want to have broken. We want to pull back to retest before jumping in. That's what I'll explain through there. And then we got the conditions that we wanted to wait for. So we got our entry signal here on the 5-minute. And then we basically, when we had that 5-minute candle close above that area, that confirmed the break of structure for continuation and the acceptance of support off that level. And kind of like what we saw there. But on the live, I believe it was yesterday, we were talking about if this level is broken, like you want to have like a potential stop loss there, where else your stop loss could be, the original stop loss could be targeted. So we got stopped out there. But then we were looking for like lower levels for new entry. And this was the Fibonacci retracement level or the golden pocket retest to jump back in. Then we end up hitting the target. If you stuck with the original stop loss, you would have been fine. But when you have an opposing character, change of character that close to your entry, you got to be careful. You could end up getting your stuff hit. But now, looking at DOT currently, we have this uptrending momentum here that we lost. We came up, and we're potentially having it act as resistance. Here technically is a confirmation of resistance, right here. When we broke this low after like retesting, and we had a wild wick up. Yeah, we had, okay, the wick came up first. I remember us watching the charts. Yeah, the wick came up first and then it closed down here. So this kind of confirmed it as resistance. So some traders might have jumped in on this after this candle closed and put their stop loss here, and they would have been knocked out. That's like a little awkward thing to try to trade. I don't normally try to jump in on those, but they are like good exit warnings. If you for some reason didn't close your trade up here, then this is like your final warning, tell you to prepare for it to come back down against you. And then we got this descending momentum as well. Liquid watch. Oh, that's not very clear, not very clean. We got 2 tests, so I would be looking at the order books before I would trust this trend line. Yeah, right now Bitcoin's, I said, dancing around the POC. If anyone jumped in on this SFP up here, we're slowing down at the POC and the VWAP area, which is our like main area of concern before hitting the technical target of the SFP, which is down here. Can you share my thoughts on whiff? Dog with hat? I'm not a fan of it. But you'll hear me say that about all the meme coins. Okay, so let's take a look at it on Binance. Okay, I didn't really do much TA on it last time I saw it. We marked this level as a key level of resistance. It cut right through here, so I'm wondering why I did that. We have a really good confluence off of it. Oh, I see. Okay. It's a coincidence. We got... yeah, it doesn't really make much sense. We had the descending channel. Maybe I was marking this low. Oh yeah, I was probably marking this low and somehow it got scrambled, but this low was in sync with the neckline of double bottom. So if it was broken, we had that kind of an explosive move to the upside. Not very much room for entry. Like lower time frames maybe. That was the 4 hour I was looking at. No, we don't need to look at the past too much there. So we zoom out a little bit on whiff. We're just in price discovery. I got Argus turned on, so it's showing me a crazy wick on Binance, or that's Bybit. A crazy wick on Bybit. We got this downtrending momentum here. It was broke. We're getting acceptance off of. We're trying to get acceptance off the the 50-day EMA. See it act as a potential form of support. We've got a pullback here on the daily. We broke that low, generating this as a strong high. Came up internally, and then we got our daily change of character occurrence right here. So on the daily, structurally, we're bullish. We're above the 50, which is good confluence too. We got a healthy pullback on the daily. So we get that higher high, we have a break of structure. Confirming this as support, a proper support with that higher high. And our first break of structure on the daily time frame. If we zoom in, we can dissect the behavior of the lower time frames to get an idea of whether or not we're going to have a continuation or a reversal here. Because it's very common for us to have pullbacks after a change of character. It's just make sure you have to define the proper strong lows so you don't get stopped out when those pullbacks occur. And we should pull a fix from here to here, but mark this key area here as a demand zone. Be very mindful of this zone. Just pull a visual order to back. Right, it came down, respected the 50-day in support pretty aggressively. Came back down, bounced off of that daily key level, and mitigated a little bit of this demand zone. So we chipped away at this demand zone twice. So it's getting weaker and weaker. We still have this full area to potentially mitigate if we come back down. If we do come back down and we mitigate this zone and then we come back up and get acceptance in this value area, then you can start pulling this whole area as a potential value area. And depending on how the price action develops here, you might get double distribution, which is insanely helpful for potentially really good setups inside of eternal range. Right now, if we zoom in on the 15, at the low here, this is our current change of character zone. If we get a lower low, This will become our next key area instead. So you kind of want to hope for better structure. Right now, the structure is a little too far away for one of my core rules, like waiting for the change of character occurrence. I will be patient, waiting for more structure for WIF before entering anything. It does look like WIF has follows market structure relatively well. Like this wick may be the only thing within this range that I don't like. Right? But it's happened before. It could happen again. So just be very mindful that you might need to use high leverage on WIF to protect your capital. I know that sounds like the opposite to what most people say, but you can control your long position or your short position and your leverage as if you can have your stop loss here, but you can use your leverage to the point where your liquidation is right below the stop loss. And in that case, if your stop loss isn't honored, you can only lose the amount where your the total amount in your trade for that basically your total amount in your trade. Obviously, don't do that with cross margin. Only do that with isolated, or else you could lose your entire account. I actually recommend no one to be using cross margin. There's a time and place for it, but for most trades, you don't need it. But yeah, that's WIF internally right now. But in the daily, its market structure is currently bullish, given that change of character occurrence, so we can start watching our key levels along the way up. But it is in price discovery. We came down to the low it's ever been, so just be very cautious. So this is a kind of a warning sign for anyone who, this is what you want to see when you see an asset in price discovery. People will buy an asset seeing that it's in its lowest it's ever been and think that it's a good price, but it can keep on going lower and lower and lower and lower. So waiting for exactly what just occurred is really important, because it's the price doesn't really matter, right? When it comes to certain things, you want to make sure that your money's working for you as soon as you jump in your position. And if you want your money working for you immediately, then wait for important key levels to be broken like this. Otherwise, they can just keep going down. And then you can be stuck holding a trade or holding a position, for weeks, months. Sometimes it'll never be in the profit zone again. And meme coins have been getting their butt kicked, so it's especially important for you to be waiting for those key levels to be broken. Okay. We got to bounce off that POC and VWAP area that we're worried about. So if anyone jumped in on that, SFP, be cautious. Can we look at GOAT? Yeah, I can look at a couple more. Why do people say not to trade Fartcoin if you're relatively new? I think what people should be saying, if you're new to trading, that you shouldn't be trading anything at more than the top 10 market cap assets. Because when you're trading things like Fartcoin or stuff with low amounts of liquidity and low amounts of low market cap, then it takes a very small amount of funds to manipulate the price. You want to pick assets that respect their market structure and have a large amount of trade participants. So when key levels are broken, there's going to be at least a reaction to those key levels. And you can backtest a set of rules, for example, on Bitcoin, and you'll almost find almost always a very, very large percentage of the time that Bitcoin's win rate when trading a key set of rules will be higher than trading something like Fartcoin, right? So, and when you see stuff like this, where we have like a change of character on an asset, you typically can expect with a higher probability, like a change of characters, like it's just another set of rules that give you a high probability that we're going to get a rotation and a reversal of a trend, right? But when you're trading stuff like low market cap assets, sometimes you get a change of character, you'll jump in, then you get a change of character, then we get a change of character, and then we start going up. And that crap is very frustrating as a trader. So you get snuffed out like 3 times before you actually get the direction that you're trying to go. And so, yeah, picking your asset that you want to trade is very important. You can invest in other assets that don't follow proper like structural rules for traders, but trading them is a different story. Your goal as a trader is to try to capture a path from point A to point B. We don't care about what price we're at. We don't care about what we care about is treating ourselves as the asset in our account balance, like the market cap. And we want our account balance to keep going up and up and up and up, right? It's not about the market cap of the asset at that point. It's just about treating yourself like the asset and trying to grow. So your trading account, you're the asset. But your investing account, that's a different story. Then you can start like, you should be focusing on stuff with utility, stuff that has like world, that impacts the world in a like positive way. Memes aren't great for that, but memes are, when the hype is there and the narrative is there, they're good to buy because you're just jumping on a train like everyone else. You just got to make sure when to know to get off the train before it crashes into a wall or something. You can look at GOAT. Sure, we can look at GOAT. GOATius Maximus. What? Okay, so it's listed on MEXC, Bybit, BitGet. Let's look at MEXC. They're probably listed there first. It's really cheap to get on MEXC. Okay, so GOAT, kind of the same thing as like WIF. We're just in a price discovery. This is not the full price action. So what you want to look for over here is a little dinosaur. So I'm going to take a look at another exchange. All right, that one's not good either. That one's not good either. Looks like, yeah, we'll stick with MEXC. It might not be the full, it might just be a decentralized chart that has most of it. But here was our area where we had, it's just like, it's almost identical to WIF, right? We got a strong high here, generated from that break of the strong low. Generate the weak low, sorry. We broke that strong high, gave us a change of character occurrence. We're above the the 50-day EMA. So just like that whiff that we were talking about. And now if we zoom in, we can kind of like analyze the potential if we're going to continue to go up or if we're going to drop. We've got some uptrending momentum here. We got a value area pull from here to here. We've got a demand zone here. Send this to back. Oh, send it back, sorry. We're getting squeezed against the value area high with this uptrending momentum. These are more likely to, this is a regression trend. So when you see a regression trend, you'll identify them from uptrending supports like this. And there can be downtrending too. But what's happening is we're grabbing liquidity that's constantly being added, right? We're constantly grabbing added liquidity from shorts, but we're not grabbing liquidity from the longs. So we keep stacking more and more and more and more. So it gives us more high probability of breaking to the downside. So what we want to look for is like the internal change of character, right? It could be from, maybe we get a higher high here and this becomes our low. So if that low breaks, then we start targeting down here. We have some confluence to watch out for. You can target this demand zone, but the area you're going to have to be cautious about is this 50-day EMA. And it could basically block the ability to retest that area. And of course, you want to watch the barrier of the value area low. So trade and manage your risk as if you're going to be targeting this low. Okay? If you get continuations, then that's just an added bonus. You can stay in from there. But if you get that like opposing change of character at these levels, listen to the market and get out. We might blast off S&P attempting longest win streak in 20 years. Nice. How did we go through DOT already? Yeah, we went through DOT twice. There's a couple spots back there you can look at it. Is Doge working reversal? If I'm starting to see a trend here, it does look like the memes are waking up. So if Doge is doing it, they all pretty much do it. Like Doge is kind of like the leader of meme coins. Okay, so here's its value area. Let's go to its daily really quick, see what it's doing. It's not in price discovery like most alts are. Doge has more exposure. We have a macro uptrending momentum line here. This is like legacy support almost because it's been holding up since 5 cents. After we hit the macro golden pocket, we've had a massive correction on Dogecoin. And now we are building a potential Wyckoff accumulation model here. So we can have a potential inverse head and shoulders form. Yeah, our last little key area that broke was here. Became our strong high. We broke that. We hit the value area high. And now we got our strong low broken. So we have our change of character currents right here. So we have confluence for it to go down. And right now, we could creep up and hit the golden pocket for like a retracement entry. But a lot of things are screaming down right now. Is that the 50-day? 50-day. Yeah, it's 50-day. I don't know if I would jump in on this with the 50-day right in my face. I would rather have this broken right here. I know we had the change of character, but 50 days pretty relevant. Like a lot of algorithmic bots react off of it. A lot of manual traders react off of it. So if we break with like a full body close below this, then I'd feel better about entering a short. But the value low is really close to us, so we can target beyond that down here in this demand zone. But you're gonna have to babysit it around this value area low. So if you don't mind babysitting, set your alarms near the value area low if you're going to short this. So yeah, two options. Again, I'll repeat them for Dogecoin if you're going to be shorting this. And my bias for Dogecoin, by the way, is always going to be short. Like I'm not a fan of an asset that creates 10,000 tokens per minute. But there's either the retracement or there's the break of the 50. Retracement is going to come with high risk. You're going to have to watch this to the 50 level. If we break the 50 level, then awesome. If we break this level, then you can watch this through here. So set your alarms front running these key levels if you're going to be jumping in before we break them. we can just as easily come back up further after bouncing off the 50-day like that. At least the VWAP will be on your side no matter what you choose, because the VWAP is like right where the price action currently is. That's Dogecoin. Okay, so I can look at one more, guys, that I gotta go, or two more. I'll do two more. We've got Cardano and RUNE for our other requests. Ray C, interested in your Discord. Can you give me a little recap of what to expect in the price? Yeah, so let's go into the Discord really quick. So the Discord, I'm not the only signal provider. So Discord's more so a place for people like to hang out, learn together. You can post your charts in here, and then I'll look at them for you, and I'll let you know whether or not there's anything you should check or anything that should be corrected before taking action or anything like that. We've got like members trade ideas where people can submit their own ideas. We've got like signals from me, spot signals. I give market insights. I tell you like weekly analysis of on-chain of how close we are to the absolute top or the absolute bottom for the market. And we've got like Brian, who's also a YouTuber, does signals as well. Tradefly just joined yesterday. So Tradefly gave his first signal yesterday and made some gains. And we have David, who's a swing trader. And we have Lucas, who's also I think he's a range trader. And then we have a mindset coach named Chisamore. He's like the lead singer for Sick Puppies, if you heard of him. But yeah, we have lots of coaches. We have calls every day of the week where we like either do trade hunting together, kind of like this, like what we're doing right now. And we do lessons together. You can ask any questions. It's like it's in a Zoom chat, so we can have like up to like 500 people in it. We normally have about like 30 to 40 people show up in each call, and then we just answer any questions you have while looking at the charts, kind of thing. And it's more of like a verbal, like it feels a lot like a one-on-one because you can ask any questions you want. But yeah, that is pretty much what you could expect. In terms of price, it depends on what you want. Like if you don't feel like you need the calls, we just provide like signals. You get access to all the courses. You get access to everything with the lowest plan, which is like $47 a month. And then we have the elite plan, which gives you all the calls and 2 bonus courses for $97 a month. We're also releasing, that'll be included in your plan very soon, a system we're calling InvestiShare. And it will allow you to connect your exchange to it, and it will do all your taxes for you. And it will tell you what your P&L is, what your win rate is for each month. Kind of like a journal, but it's all automated and does it all for you kind of thing. And we're going to have that released very soon, like super soon. But yeah, that's kind of what you can expect. Our goal is just to try to make sure that you're profitable and comfortable with a set of rules that you can use as a trader. Some people will join just so they can master that and then they'll leave. Other people are like for lifers because they value the signals, or they just want a big group to work that have that like-minded people to like trade alongside with. A lot of people just become family. So let's look at Cardano. Let's see. Cardano is like a slippery fish lately. I hold Cardano, but it's not one of my... what am I doing? There we go. It's not one of my biggest bags, but I'm looking for opportunity to use my existing bag to like sell at the top of ranges and rebuy at the lows to accumulate, just constantly accumulate that way over and over again, because of the fact that Cardano is now a part of like the strategic reserve for the United States. It could create a domino effect for other countries to do the same. And the constant exposure that's going to get from something like that, I feel like Cardano could reach its all-time highs again. This is the market cap all-time high, by the way, because the inflationary damage that came from its tokenomics. If you were to put the exact same amount of money that was in Cardano when it was at its all-time high in it today, it'd be worth $2.11. So you got to treat 211 as if it is the all-time high, because that means we'd had equal amount of interest in Cardano than we did back then. So 211 is a big key area to watch. And locally, we got these like whipsaw crazy events here. So let's zoom in on this. We do look like we're trying to like build potential inverse head and shoulders. Right. Internally, zoom in a little bit. All right, we got test the value high, where we are in a zone where we want to repair for shorts, but like we want to be positioned somewhere around here. This is kind of what I mean by it being like a little slippery fish lately. It's been breaking. It's been getting change of character occurrences like internally, and I don't like trading inside of the valley area as much as I would love to trade acceptance into it, right? For that better risk to reward ratio, because you're kind of like the R&R is usually like a no trade R&R, so it's been really awkward to try to catch something on it. This one's not too bad, but yeah, it's been a little awkward. Right now it's awkward. We need to have a break of, already broke it. We got to change character here for bearish reversal. We're retesting the POC. I think that's the equilibrium point where, we're almost, yeah, we basically tapped the golden pocket. So that's kind of like a retracement opportunity. But I don't, yeah, like I said before, I don't like trading internally. If I were to wait for something, I would prefer to wait for a like full rotation back down and wait for longs, or see if it comes back up further to potentially jump in on shorts. But I don't want to trade the internal short, or suggest anyone to trade the internal short. You might have a strategy that works for you for something like that, but I like to trade where the supply is, where the demand is, where most liquidity resides inside of a range. And trade alongside the market maker, basically. Use the market maker as a tool. Matthew, I just really like the community. Yeah, oh man, we're so lucky with the community. And we've had people in there that have been with us since 2020, like 5 years. Okay, RUNE is the last request. I'm sorry that we didn't really go over much with Cardano. It's just there isn't much to be able to participate on. Like macro vision, I'm bullish on it. But currently, right now, like there's nothing where we can touch that's safe. Like we could be building a potential like larger structure for a break to the downside, but internally, what I want to see is a rotation to the upside to prepare for shorts, or a rotation to the downside to prepare for longs. Even though internally it looks bearish and that it's very likely to go down, doesn't mean we should take the trade, because the R&R based on our entry it's not going to be there. It's always relatively high risk unless the POC is like close to a cliff of a volume shelf to trade near the POC too. You'll see me trading near the POC once in a while, but I need very specific requirements in order to do it. Let's look at RUNE for Bex. Sorry if I say your name right, wrong. Bexy. RUNE. Really harsh drop there. Now RUNE, I'm already getting the vibes that this is behaving like the meme coins. Yeah. I got a feeling that we might see Bitcoin dominance be going down. Yeah, all these altcoins are starting to claim, there's a lot of confluence between them, right? They're all claiming the 50 EMA right now. And they all just recently had a daily change of character occurrence. This one's got an equal low. Yeah, we always just got a daily change of character occurrence on. We looked at WIF, we looked at DOGE, we looked at yeah, we're now on RUNE. RUNE I wouldn't consider a meme token. Like there's actual utility here, and it's not the face of a dog or anything crazy like that. There's utility behind it, so, but it is a low market cap, so it makes sense for it to move alongside other low market caps. So we might be getting an early warning sign that there might be a rally coming soon with alts. Because we're seeing all that relative strength and all that correlation between these assets that I feel like that we might be getting something big coming up soon. So before I leave, I want to look at others' dominance and see what its positioning looks like. Right now, RUNE is bouncing off of the 50-day right here. We're inside of this demand zone. We chipped away at the demand zone lower and lower before, so we got to be cautious. Here we might grab that new low, which is basically grabbing the local liquidity before going back up. So we grab that lower liquidity before going back up. Then we have more reasoning for a reversal. We can use as entry liquidity for a stronger base move. We have fair value gaps above us, so the move back up could be just as quick as the move down. You zoom in on the 15-minute. We got a proper pullback. So yeah, right here is a 15-minute change of character occurrence. What am I doing? There we go. Yeah, so this is our 15-minute change of character occurrence. If we break this, it doesn't mean necessarily enter, but it is really, really good confluence. Being at a value area low, we have like broad momentum that you should watch right here. Just check the order books and see if there's sell pressure here. We're below the VWAP, which is for a lot of traders, this is bias control, right? So if you're below the VWAP, you might only want to do shorts. However, a deviation of the VWAP is technically a form of bullish activity too. If we're far enough away from it, it acts like a magnet to the price action. So you watch this along the way up, if you jump in on any long positions here, and just be cautious that we might get a rejection off this area. But if you enter a long round here, let's say we get the change of character, then this will be your low to put your stop loss to invalidate it, because then you'd get another change of character if that breaks, and that could continue us to go down. So if you'd rather wait for more structure, more liquidity to be built, then that's fine. I agree with that too. If we had said of getting a change of character, we'd descend down further, it would actually be a little bit better for us for preparing for a long, because it would add more and more opposing liquidity. But everything that we looked at so far, Ethereum and RUNE were kind of the best to watch for potential trades today. Can we get a peek at ONDO? And I could do ONDO. I'm 30 minutes past. I gotta get going to a call very soon. Today's Friday. Yeah, Friday. Let's go to ONDO. We looked at that yesterday and see how it developed. A little awkward. Okay, so we hit our target from yesterday. Or is that not yesterday? That was, oh, that was the 30th. We wanted this to break to target here. And that's what we got hit. We can get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. We could actually pull a fixed range. Here to here. We have an ascending double bottom break for ONDO. If we get a break of structure and a higher high, then that's our continuation to the move for the value area high. ONDO has a lot of pairing liquidity with Bitcoin, but it does like tend to move on its own a lot of the times within its range. So if you're looking for something with relative strength that doesn't fully depend on Bitcoin's movements, like ONDO is a good one to like keep an eye out on. We're riding along this momentum line again still. Like if you zoom out a little bit, you can see that we got like falling wedge behavior. When these break, which this is the key level right now for that break, they're just basically what's happening is we're grabbing liquidity along the way down. And as we get squeezed, we're getting the seller's confidence starts to dwindle. And so the volume starts to dwindle. And so we're getting closer and closer to like a demand zone. We tend to have like less and less volume until we approach it. And then when we break the key level, we start hunting down all the added liquidity along the way up. And so the measurable target is always the top of the structure. But I would be targeting the 200-day EMA. So it's like a big barrier of concern. And this little double bottom, this ascending double bottom, could be a front run to that. But we don't normally get the big moves like that with ONDO without at least Bitcoin's support. Like the internal range stuff, it does a lot of stuff on its own. But the big moves, we tend to have to be carried a little bit. Unless it has relative strength from news. Yeah, ONDO's looking good. I'd behave on the 5-minute chart for the value area high rotation at least. Now use the 15-minute chart for the 9339 break here. Wait for the retest and you're good to go. And I'll mark that. So anyone who has access to my ONDO chart, I'll mark that target here. There we go. You've been killing the streams lately. Thanks for that, Kyle. No problem, man. Appreciate it. At what point would that long on RUNE be invalidated? The opposing change of character would invalidate the RUNE long. So, the break of structure would invalidate that long. So here, if we break this, we'd have our confluence of entry. Like this is telling us that we're with increased probability of having a change character at or below a value area low, we're more likely to get our reversal at that point. If we instead of break this level and we come down lower, our key level changes to here, right? If we come down lower again, our key level changes, right? Again, wherever you get your change of character level, that's what you're kind of like watching out for. So as a trader, you're going to prefer that it comes down all the way here to grab this liquidity. So we have a more likely to have market maker participants, like people with big money, because they're going to be able to jump in with the least amount of slippage in zones like this. So what would be the invalidation point for your stop loss would be this low right here, Because the moment this breaks, this becomes a strong low that you do not want to have broken. And if it breaks, then it invalidates the entire idea and it increases the chances of us having a continuation down. So to be safe, wait for full body acceptance above here. Full body close. If it's not a full body, it could just behave like an SFP. Alex Crypto, what's up, man? Otter invasion. Yeah. Well, we're just about to get off, but there's an otter invasion. I do have a call like coming up very shortly. I'll get rid of that pop-up. How are you guys doing? 103 viewers. We just broke a record. Man, party. Sent the stream. Oh, are you ending your stream, man? Or you get maybe end your stream? All right, we got the break here on RUNE. Got 9 minutes in the 15-minute candle. 4 minutes on the 5-minute. I typed, I only have $27 left and I want to turn to $2.7 million. Google sent me here. Yeah. That's great. Cancel your call. I don't like doing that to people, but dot breaking. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, I guess what you're saying there, yeah. There's got to be find something better than that though. And ONDO is really important. Get that break of structure continuation on that double bottom. This gives us a rotation to the Valerie high, but if we break this key level, then we spoke about it already. We'll have a really strong continuation potentially to 101. Have a blessed day. Thanks, Albert. 224 views. All right, we broke a record. Nice. Thanks, guys. You just basically doubled my record. Alex Crypto has been crushing it lately. He's been so consistent with his streams, and actually, he is part of the reason why he inspired me to try to find as many things as I could to automate, so I could free up the time to do these lives every morning for you guys. And yeah, so now my streams have been growing from the consistency too. And Alex Crypto, I believe, man, you're gonna get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, man. You're doing awesome. For anyone who hasn't already, I'd recommend subscribing to him too. But yeah, like Mark said, yeah, subscribe. Yeah, like button, all that fun stuff. Well, right now we've been looking at a whole bunch of assets upon request. Like Bitcoin, we're seeing a lot of warning signs telling us that the low market caps, like we're looking at Dogecoin, Dog with Hat, all the stuff you guys are requesting, they all had very similar confluences off of like bouncing off their 50 EMA and giving us daily changes of characters recently. So we might start seeing stuff like the other dominants start to have a shift to give us a key warning sign that we could be having a rally coming up very soon. We broke a key low recently on the total dominance here, and we're getting a bit of retracement off of it. But just like ONDO, actually, ONDO structure is mirroring this relatively well. But instead of a 50-day EMA opposing the target, it is the 50-day, or sorry, the 200 to the 50. But yeah, we're getting ready for a potential rally for alts. Not the season, but a rally. A season won't come until we start seeing Bitcoin in the overheated zone in the on-chain metrics. If we go over here, where are we at? Relative unrealized profits and loss charts. What you want to look for a season. The rally is a front run to it. So you want to make sure you're finding your altcoins, your vehicle before the season begins that you can trust. I don't normally recommend meme coins or anything like that. Focus on the utility. Network tokens will perform better first, and then the funds will start to shift and change over to the assets built on those networks. It happens like that every single cycle. The only thing that's been unique this cycle is that not altcoins, but meme coins have had their own unique rally within this internal cycle. When we get up to the 2.35 level on the relative unrealized profits and loss chart, then you want to wait for between the moment we're at this high level and the daily opposing change of character, that's where we have our altcoin season. Like every single time. And the seasons when altcoins just don't make sense. They just keep going up. And then when things start to break on the daily chart for Bitcoin, then the altcoin season tends to end. It usually lasts 2 weeks to about a month. And then we start a bear market from there, usually. At least it has been that way ever since like the dawn of creation of Bitcoin. But yeah, let's go back to the Bitcoin charts. We're watching for an SFP. We got an SFP here on the 5 minute when we were watching. So we grabbed the liquidity from this local high. We used Argus to help tell us that the liquidity was taken. Argus is a wick tracker for other exchanges. So on like this chart, for example, I'm using Bitstamp. But I'm able to have the same capabilities of looking at other charts like the Binance chart or the Bybit chart or the BitGet chart simultaneously by having Argus on my chart, because it shows me the wicks. And here we got the wick captured, and then it closed back inside the range. So it defined a target of the local low. We came back up and snuck up through here. So if you have your stop loss here, you're still safe. But this was our primary area of concern, was the POC and the VWAP. And we just grabbed more of the recently added liquidity here from this wick, but it's not as significant as this. So we might see the price action come down to the value area low very soon. So I'll be trading assets that are in the biased confluence of Bitcoin going down. Find things that are in sync with that bearish confluence, like Ethereum. Ethereum's at its value area high, and we should prepare for potential shorts as well. If we get acceptance into that value area from the value area high and break this key level, we can expect rotation back down to its value area low. Just waiting for that confluence. Because if you haven't entered, if you entered already from the change of character occurrence, and right now it's a waiting game. So you might have a better stop loss guard by the time we get that confluence entry. KSPR 2.0 launch on the 6th. Any thoughts and insights on that? I'd have to do some research on that, man. I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything I don't know. What's the launch for? Is there a change of tokenomics? Kind of similar to what happened with Gala? Only 2 weeks and 1 month. Yeah, the altcoin seasons are short. Altcoin rallies they're a lot longer, obviously. Altcoin rallies are like the front run to like the season. And you want to make sure you pick your vehicles right. But yeah, look at the history of Bitcoin and how we behave off of the relative unrealized profits and loss chart, and how altcoin seasons usually develop when the flow of funds come from Bitcoin into network tokens, and from network tokens into the lower market cap stuff. It all begins when the relative unrealized profits and loss chart shows a reflection of how much people are in terms of gains. And this is like unsustainable amount of gains. Lately, we've been having a lot of consolidation like we never had before. And it has been resetting this chart to extend our bull market targets. And that extension is basically telling us so far, if we were to go straight up today with one candle, which won't happen, but if we went up straight with one candle, that the measurable target for the overheated zone is around like between $175,000 to $200,000. So this is starting to validate the idea of a potential super cycle, because we're already kind of past our normal ETA of when a bear market would occur. And the more we consolidate, the more healthier it is for Bitcoin to have those continuations. And I spoke about it before on yesterday's stream, but if we look on chain about the type of people that are exiting during these periods, it is the lower supply of holders. People who are holding between like 10 to 100 Bitcoin. You can see that ever since we hit the macro golden pocket, we've been losing them. Like a lot of those holders have been coming out. And same with the crabs, people holding between 1 to 10 Bitcoin. Ever since we started ranging, mainly in the most recent range from like November to February, we've had a lot of people leave the market that held between 1 and 10 Bitcoin. And same with the shrimps is relatively similar. A lot of them recently have started leaving when we started ranging, starting in November. So this massive structure here on Bitcoin has scared out a lot of people. This structure here. And now we're starting to see them come back in ever since we broke this area here. But what has been growing consistently is the institutional holders. You can see ever since basically the launch of the ETFs, we've had a large amount of people exit, but then very shortly afterwards onboard back in, and a large amount of whales, institutions, they've been accumulating like crazy. So we can literally see on chain that people are exiting the market and giving it to institutions. They're buying everyone's Bitcoin. So we're going to come to an era in the future, if this continues, where like institutions have like full control over Bitcoin. It's kind of a sad truth. So when you sell your Bitcoin, just remember who you're selling it to. And if there is a time where you shouldn't be holding your Bitcoin. Like there's a time where like, or at least for me, I listen to the on-chain metrics to tell me when it's the most appropriate time to sell your Bitcoin, when it's the most appropriate time to buy it. Because you don't want to be holding it through the bear market. So like I have a lesson on YouTube that you guys can go to on macro trading that will show you all the rules that I look for calling the exact tops and calling the exact bottoms. And it's the same rules that allowed me to grow, like buy at like 16.9K. And it's, right now the rules are still telling me to hold. Like I'm still holding my Bitcoin. And what we need to wait for, our first warning sign is this chart right here, getting into the overheated zone. And then the stars start to align to tell us to get out. And the final rule is always the daily change of character, like the daily candles. Dave's a lobster. Alex of Crypto's a crab. Mark Capricorn. Yeah, it's funny. So I'm a fish. I'm like a middle of the fish there. You're a crab, Alex. Nice. Oh yeah, I know how much you got. You're doing good, man. You'll become a fish soon. Keep up with that consistency, you'll be a fish. Can you drop a link for that video? Yeah, 1 second. I'll pull it up here. I got like a playlist for you guys for like learning. Copy. Okay. And I'm bringing it to you now. 1 sec. Playlist. My chat. There it is. Okay, cool. There's a video on like all the rules that's required for knowing how to call the tops and call the bottoms. It's easier than you think. Even if you're a beginner, I think the main thing if you're a beginner that you're going to struggle with is understanding what a change of character is. So just make sure you understand market structure. And you got lots of time before the top is called, but make sure you understand market structure before then so you know how to call the top alongside these rules, and you'll do great. What altcoins do I like, James? So for in terms of like altcoins, my second biggest bag, other than like Bitcoin's my biggest bag, obviously, but my second biggest bag is Chainlink. I believe its adoption, its utility, it's a kind of inevitability almost. It's like the safest play. I bought most of my bags for Chainlink at. I can go to the Chainlink chart while I explain this. But I bought most of my bags at Chainlink at $7 at a bull flag that was representing a target that extended the range that was actively in. So if I go into Chainlink, I'll show you what I mean. All right, so if we go to the daily, like Chainlink, by the way, if you are a range trader, Chainlink's the asset for you. Like Chainlink's a really good asset to range trade within. It holds ranges for 30 to 90 days a lot of the times. But yeah, this is where I jumped in on Chainlink here, where I bought my bags. We had a bull flag, and then we had what's called a confirmation formation off of that flag. And it defined a measurable base target of here where we would expect exhaustion. We ended up breaking past it, which was a little bit of a surprise for me. We had a macro downtrending level of resistance, and we had a decent sell wall there, but the sell wall was lifted the moment we got to this area. So it was like a non-intentional fill. These aren't actually my stop losses. I'm not sure why the tool does that sometimes. But anyways, that's where we accumulated, and I ended up selling my seed investment. So what I put in was taken out at $30 when we got to this value area high here. This was an area where a massive amount of people's averages were from the previous cycle, so I wanted to get out. And we were close to the market cap all-time high. And that by itself is a really big warning sign too. So here is imagine if you were to put all the same amount of money into Chainlink today that was in at the all-time high, the price wouldn't be the all-time high anymore. It would be here because the inflationary damage from its tokenomics. And Chainlink inflates by about 7% per year. My ex-girlfriend changed character 24 times a day. Yeah, so that's not an asset you want to trade, right? if you constantly have, that's like a really funny example of how you shouldn't be trading certain assets, right? Or being in certain relationships in this case scenario. So if you have like constant changes of character in critical zones like value area lows or value area highs, then that asset might not be an asset that you should be trading. It might be one you could invest in, but not one you'd want to like trade in. Yesterday we're preparing for the short for Chainlink, and now we're at a key area where we want to prepare for longs. Going back to Bitcoin, we're still crunching. We had that opposing change of character, so we are technically targeting below us, especially after the SFP. Oh, this level needs to be broken. H-bar. I'm a holder of H-bar. H-bar is great. I'm a holder of Cubic. I don't have very much Cubic, but I'm a holder of Cubic. They have, I focus on utility. Cubic, I've gotten a feeling that it could be widespread adopted because of the fact that it just broke a record on chain for the most amount of transactions per second. It's like 15.2 million per second, which I believe surpasses Solana. So I'd watch, oh, it does surpass Solana. And the Cubic has never had outages before. It's not as centralized as Solana, but trade her, don't invest in her. Yeah. That's funny. All right, guy. What are your thoughts on the Hyperliquid? So I know good. I've read good things about Hyperliquid, but I haven't invested in it yet. So I have nothing against it. I just don't know enough about it to say it's a good asset to buy yet. So I got to do a little more research on Hyperliquid. But yeah, my assets that I hold, I got my portfolio here. I hold Bitcoin. I hold Chainlink, Ethereum. I'm saying it in order of weighted value, by the way. So in order of weighted value of my portfolio, Bitcoin, Chainlink, Ethereum, Litecoin, Cosmos, not very much of it, ONDO, and Cubic are like my big ones. So the main ones, yeah, those are the main ones that I'm holding right now. Litecoin, I understand its behavior really well, so it's very easy for me to invest in it and know when to get out. Same when it comes to Ethereum. Cosmos, I stake it, so I'm earning passive income from that. And ONDO, it's a real-world asset, so I'm holding it because of its utility. And Cubic, it's got really good tokenomics, and their tokenomics just recently improved too, so there's like more reasoning for holding it. So it's looking good. Just look at my other monitor over here. And for scalping, my favorite assets to scalp is Bitcoin by far, and assets that have a lot of pairing liquidity to Bitcoin. And if you guys don't know what pairing, we have a lot of new people watching right now, so just in case there's anyone who's new and don't know what pairing liquidity is when the moment you create an asset, like Chainlink, for example, you want to pick an asset to pair it with to allow people to swap between them, right? And the OGs, like the big ones from back in the day, they all use Bitcoin because there wasn't any stable coins. There wasn't USDT. And even when USDT came out, a lot of people still chose Bitcoin for their pairing liquidity because they knew that of its scarcity and its tokenomics, that it could bring basically a perpetual, like a never-ending uptrend, basically, in a sense. As long as the adoption pace is maintained, like Bitcoin will keep going up. So a lot of asset creators will use Bitcoin, and that is why when you see Bitcoin go up or down, everything else follows it immediately, even if there isn't buyers or sellers, because the reserve value is going down and up along with it. So I'll pick assets that have a lot of pairing liquidity to Bitcoin, because if I see any, because I understand Bitcoin's behavior relatively well, if I see like something bearish happening on Bitcoin, but I don't like the risk to reward ratio, I'll pick another asset that has the good risk to reward ratio that follows alongside the bias of Bitcoin's move. And so I would look into mostly the network tokens that have a lot of Bitcoin pairing liquidity, like AVAX, BNB, like Chainlink is a good one, and just use it, Bitcoin technically as a form of indicator of what's about to occur, kind of thing. So the ones I like to trade are usually network tokens and Bitcoin. I'll trade lower market cap once in a while, but there usually needs to be like more confluence. The super low market cap stuff is usually I'm holding it via spot and then selling it for like maybe like a maximum of like 10x. Where can we see if it has Bitcoin pairing? It would be over here. An easy way is to go to CoinMarketCap. Go to something like, let's go to like Cardano. Oh, sorry, I just got a phone call. So Cardano, what you want to look for is the pair. So right here, we have Cardano with USDT, Cardano with USDC on Binance. We have, so this is where you'd find out what it's paired with. And you'll find like you can see if Cardano has Ethereum liquidity, pairing liquidity here on Binance. So we know that Ethereum has slight control over Cardano's price action. So this is one way you can do it here. There's probably an easier and better way, like ChatGPT. I'd recommend ChatGPT for pretty much everything when you're trying to do research. Using their deep dive tool will help you like find out stuff in an instant, so you don't have to do as much homework on your own. It's good to know how to do the homework, so make sure that like ChatGPT is teaching you that when you're getting a result. Include that in your prompt that you want to like, hey, I'm looking into how much pairing liquidity or how much influence Bitcoin has over this asset. Can you look into this and tell me your sources and stuff like that? And then you can like pull up those sources and use them yourself to help you find it on the fly if you don't want to look through ChatGPT after that. But yeah. Kyle, super chat. What do we have in the super chat? You are not allowed to pay me for the Chinese food or I'll drive down there. Yeah, so yeah, Alexo Crypto came over and he brought his family over, his little hobbit, his wife and his mom, and we like basically like just hung out. We hung out it was the very first time we ever met in person, but honestly it felt like we were friends for like 5 years. Which just immediately like clicked. And yeah, he paid for the Chinese food and I wanted to pay him back half because it was like $140. Like, I don't care how much money you have, that's a lot of money in Chinese food, and I want to pay him back for it. But if he's gonna come down here, what are you threatening me with? You gonna drive down here and hang out with me again, and then I'll have to buy you Chinese food? It's funny. Well, guys, I definitely got to head out. I am 1 minute over. I just realized I got a call that like started a minute ago. I don't want to upset the guy who paid for coaching. So yeah, appreciate the raid, man. That was fun. Have yourself an amazing day, guys. Subscribe if you want to learn like my strategy and how I look at the markets. And I'm here every 8 a.m. every day until 9. Unfortunately, it's around the same time as Alexo Crypto, but yeah, some people are watching both our streams at the same time. So if you're getting a Fibonacci setup and I'm getting the change of character confluence, then it pretty much tells you to stay in Alexo Crypto's trade, and we get those continuation runs. So it's pretty epic confluence when the two of us like trade alongside each other. All right, guys, have a great day. And I'll send you guys a signal today in the community if things are safe, if we get really clear when all of our rules are met kind of thing. I don't like giving signals unless all the rules are met for clear targets and clear entries. I'll see you guys on the next live on Monday. See you guys.